On October 6, 2017, the San Diego coastline watched a massive gray steel hull cut through the water, beginning a 7-month global deployment. This was the USS Theodore Roosevelt, the Nimitz-class flagship of Carrier Strike Group 9. It didn't travel alone. It sailed alongside the guided missile cruiser USS Bunker Hill, flanked by 3 heavily armed destroyers serving as its permanent escorts. This visualization maps the human scale required to operate a fleet of this size. Across these vessels, exactly 7,500 sailors and Marines deployed into the 7th and 5th Fleet areas of operation. Here is the logistical paradox of the mission. The U.S. Navy considers a strike group the most versatile, capable force at sea, yet achieving that capability means packing thousands of people into a tight footprint and sustaining a completely isolated mid-ocean metropolis for over half a year. Understanding the lethal power of this strike group requires looking past the guided missiles and the flight deck. We have to investigate the hidden, highly structured civic ecosystem that keeps its citizens alive and functional day after day. The primary purpose of this floating city is power projection, executed by Carrier Air Wing 17. They operate entirely from the flight deck. The spearhead of this operation relies on strike fighter squadrons like the Stingers and the Mighty Shrikes. They provide the fast, kinetic capabilities that give the carrier its massive strike radius. But fighters require a supporting cast. The Cougars manage electronic attack operations, while the Indians and Battle Cats run continuous helicopter missions, handling anti-submarine warfare and search and rescue. Moving these assets around a moving runway requires a relentless, highly choreographed pace. Select deck directors in color-coded jerseys signal every movement, demanding absolute precision from the crew. A single misstep here leads to catastrophic accidents. But this aerial ballet doesn't happen in a vacuum. It is entirely dependent on a massive, unseen logistical foundation buried deep within the decks below. To map out the hidden neighborhoods of the ship, we can look at its internal magazine, the Rough Rider. Its headlines document the grueling daily reality of the crew. Before the ship even leaves port, the pages detail exhausting pre-deployment requirements. The crew undergoes intense Comp2X training to integrate the strike group, alongside rigorous in-serve assessments that test every valve, wire, and system on board. Then there is the physical mass required to fight. The headlines track massive air-wing onloads and critical ammunition transfers, packing the ship's internal hangars and deep magazines to capacity. Combat readiness centers on the human infrastructure needed to keep the ship afloat during worst-case scenarios. Damage control teams operate out of specialized repair lockers stationed throughout the vessel. They drill constantly, training to isolate and extinguish internal fires or seal off catastrophic flooding deep in the hull. Surviving a 7-month deployment requires treating the ship's internal structural integrity and emergency preparedness as a daily warfront. Yet even the strongest steel requires a functioning crew. The ship relies on complex replenishments at sea, connecting to supply vessels while moving to import tons of fresh food, spare parts, and mail. Below deck, a fully integrated medical infrastructure keeps the population healthy. They run a full hospital, a pharmacy, and specialized care centers, including a dedicated women's health clinic. The ship also manages its own internal social dynamics. Leadership runs proactive awareness campaigns, establishing networks for sexual assault prevention and response to protect the crew inside the confined environment. There is also a desperate need for simple, relatable morale. The Rough Rider features the gyms, the mess deck menus, and even an internal ice cream man, offering a brief escape from the grinding work hours. The psychological toll of an extended deployment is severe. The crew misses births, funerals, and spends holidays away from home, relying on each other to absorb the isolation. Ultimately, the physical health and psychological morale of the residents dictate the strike group's operational endurance. Zooming out, you see a single flagship operating alone in the vast, dark theater of the 7th or 5th Fleet. From the outside, it is a cold, impenetrable wall of steel. Inside, it is a warm, complex, and highly vulnerable human ecosystem. The ability to project military power and ensure regional stability is an illusion. If you divorce the aircraft from the cooks, medics, and mechanics who keep the pilots functioning. The ethos of this modern floating city traces directly back to its namesake. As Theodore Roosevelt himself wrote, "Progress doesn't arrive by accident. It is only high of heart and strong of hand. By our own mighty deeds, we make them come true."